set? You good? Great, thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the February, what is the date, 11th zoning board hearing. Tonight we have two hearings and a brief communication through a couple of housekeeping items. One of them being the minutes from the last meeting. Do I have a motion on, from the minutes of the last meeting to approve?
I make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Motion by Charlie, second by Mark. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. So also note that next Wednesday, we'll be on the Upper Town Hall meeting for the second hearing on the 40B of Robsham Village. That will be starting, I believe, at 7 o'clock. Is it scheduled for 7 o'clock? This is going to be on the traffic study, so I encourage anybody in the community that wants their voices to be heard and to get additional information to please join us. We usually run about 2 hours. We're taking each section of that project based on traffic, engineering, sewer, water. So the traffic was a big component of the project, and we will be addressing that next Wednesday. With that, and that being after 7:05, also, board members, I got a notification today that we will be entering into the February meeting. There will be an extension for previous, extension of a previous special permit. They just needed more time to, the special permit that was granted, they're just needing more time. So that'll be coming in the form of a hearing, so that'll be scheduled in the February hearing. I don't know if it'll be the 8th. I think it's the 8th. It probably should hit around the 8th. Also in your calendars, you better plan on, in February, a continued hearing on the 40B for Robsham Village, probably 3 or 4 weeks from Wednesday's date, just to make sure that you kind of have your calendar cleared that this is going to continue. Okay.
And our February meeting is what date?
Well, we've got it right now. If we keep on the Wednesday schedule, we would probably be looking at, where are we? Well, I'm on 17, so I don't have 18.
That's it.
But it would be February, it would probably be the second or third week.
14th or the 21st.
14th and 21st.
14th or the 21st, maybe the 14th.
And the regular scheduled meeting would be
The 8th.
Okay.
Okay, with that, the 7:05 hearing, are the applicants of Buy Homes LLC in the building? All right, would you please come up to the front, please? And if you have anything to pass out to board members, you can do so as I read the hearing notice. This is on the application of Buy Homes LLC, Alex Flores and Marciano. I'm terrible with names. Arjuzo? 51 Hartwell Avenue, Littleton, Mass. Variance release from the lot size and other applicable provisions of the bylaw and/or special permit pursuant to sections 3.1.3 of the zoning bylaw in relation to a parcel of land located on the northerly side of Taylor Street, known and numbered as 25 Taylor Street, which parcel is owned by the petitioners. The special permit relief is sought for the purposes of removing an existing residential duplex dwelling on the property and construction of a new two-family. On the application, since this is a special permit concerning the bylaw, it's either a special permit or variance. The applicant is indicating that the site contained a non-conforming duplex structure on a non-conforming lot. The dwelling burned down several years ago. In its place, a duplex was built. The current owner obtained a demolition permit to remove the existing duplex and to construct a new two-family dwelling at the site. Presently, the applicant is proposing a duplex dwelling to be constructed on a non-conforming lot with an area of between 12,000 and 16,000 square feet, and is asking for relief of a minimum lot area requirement special permit under the section 3.1.3. Number of families for which the building is to be arranged as two-family. Concerning the questions asked of the applicant, what circumstances exist relating to the soil condition, shape, and topography of the premises, the applicant states the proposed two-family dwelling is replacing an existing two-family dwelling No change in use is proposed. In addition, the neighborhood features a number of dwellings of similar size and use. Granting the sought variance will have no negative impact or effect in any way of the land or the zoning district. Concerning the question asked of the applicant, if the variance were not granted, what hardship would be caused by the circumstances described in 13 above, the applicant states if the variance is not granted, significant restriction of the use of the premises will result. The neighborhood features a number of similar properties, and their usability and value would also be impacted. Concerning the question, state why you feel the grant of the variance will not cause substantial detriment to the public good. The applicant states the proposed two-family dwelling is blending well within the neighborhood of similar dwellings. No change in use is proposed. The variance will have no noticeable impact on the property and is currently very close to the 12,000 square foot required for the district and is in use of a non-conforming lot for decades. With that, it was sent off to the town planner. Town planner letter indicated and I'm paraphrasing, the applicant requested a variance or a special permit to construct a two-family dwelling. The lot size is 11,628 square feet. 372 square feet less than a minimum of 12,000 is required in the RA zone. To request a special permit to construct a two-family. The proposed two-family dwelling is arranged to provide a common entrance, as well as to provide 6 paved off-street parking spaces in the northeast portion of the lot. The proposed two-family dwelling complies with all yard requirements, and 2 trees are proposed for the front yard. In all other standards, the section of 3.1 special permit standards, two-family dwellings are allowed by bylaw, have appeared to be met. Therefore, they recommended a favorable report to the zoning board. However, a petition on December 29th and a hearing date from the planning board on January 2nd, the planning board reviewed the petition at their regular scheduled meeting and voted and recommend unfavorable. So therefore, I will turn the hearing over to you. Please give us an idea of what you're trying to do.
For the record, George Michal, Gary and Kalman, and I'm here to present, as you already mentioned, my clients, Mr. Flores and Mr. Rojo. And the project is two-family dwelling in the RA district. The proposed building will be 2-story building, two-family, will have a common entrance. And then inside it will split into the 2 dwellings. It has no basement proposed, so it will have 2 utility rooms on the back, which one for each unit. It also features 6 parking spots that are away from the street. They are not between the street and the dwelling. It has 2 trees proposed for the front. It will be on town utilities, gas, water, and sewer. And what we are here to apply for is a special permit for a two-family dwelling to be constructed in RA district on a lot between 12,000 and 16,000 square feet. In addition, we would like to request a waiver for the requirement for 12,000 square feet because unbeknown to my client, the lot was actually 11,628 feet, and we found out this during the survey when we were preparing the plan.
Okay. I want to make a couple of comments because this property seems to have been around for quite a while, between fires and building commissioner's sanctions for stop work order. I believe the application stipulates that the dwelling that was burned down several years ago, it's been probably back since 2000 and 01, when the fire of that single-family home, it wasn't a duplex. There was a garage that caught on fire and then the house caught on fire. And back in 01, I believe zoning based on then would have allowed a two-family. But then, as most everybody here knows, or the community knows, a giant duplex was constructed on the property. I guess it's been out there for 5 or 6 or 7 years. Bank had no idea that it was, a building permit was never pulled. So from a history standpoint, apparently someone bought it and took it down, and now they're trying to resurrect the two-family again. Is that correct?
Yes, it is correct. They did pull a permit for pulling down the old building and propose a new two-family building, which will be a significant improvement with respect to the history of the whole site.
Now, is this also in the flood zone? Is that why there's a slab?
It is raised above the flood zone.
It's in the flood zone.
The flood zone is, it is not in the, it is above the flood
It's in the
zone.
VR zone, which is flood hazard zone,
Yes,
based on what we know, correct?
yes.
Okay.
We put the building as much away from it as possible.
So you're proposing to build one floor?
2 floors.
The plan submitted only showed one floor. It showed an exterior design of two. I didn't see a second floor.
There's a slab on the first floor,
All we have is a slab on the first floor.
and
No
the
bedroom.
exterior, no bedrooms.
That's what's in the folder. The one that was in the original folder only has the outside foundation plan and the first floor. Pass it down. Slab, first floor. There isn't any second floor in the plan.
Not the architect, but this is the full set of architectural drawings. I sent a PDF.
Well, who dropped the big plans off?
These plans,
No, the ones that are in the folder for the hearing.
I sent 3 plans for the hearing, just with regard to the footprint, so.
So you're proposing how many square feet per unit?
The entire area is just short of 1,500. It's 1,472 square
And
feet.
3 bedrooms each unit? Is that correct, based on this? Okay. On slab, okay. We'll pass this off this way, then we can go and pass it off the other way. John, I'll start down on your end.
I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay.
Have nothing right now.
Okay. Charlie?
Were there, did you think of any other ways to deal with this other than a two-family at this time? Originally, it was a one-family, then it went to a two-family. So, were there any other thoughts that you people had, or your clients had, about setting this up?
Well, we had, but it's not really feasible to be a one-family dwelling in this area, and all the other dwellings in the neighborhood are multifamily. So, when you drive around the neighborhood, you see that this house would fit perfectly in the neighborhood. As you see from the architectural drawings, it's beautifully designed two-family house. I did have informal meetings with the town planner and with the town engineer. My client made significant efforts to make the building conform to all the bylaw requirements, to have the single entrance, to have inside the building the splitting into the 2 units. We also did a lot to pull the building away from the brook, and also to have the parking lot area not to be close to the road.
Is this duplex set in the lot sideways?
It is facing this way, correct?
Yeah.
So it's set in the property sideways?
Yeah.
David, I got a question. When this was built, was it ever occupied as a,
There was never a permit pulled. They built it illegally. So
so,
that's what they're trying to do, is replace an illegal structure with another
okay.
Legal
duplex.
structure.
Preferably, I think a single-family home would be the best thing for this, because that street is single-family and multifamily.
Now-
It's a combination of both.
Looking at your plan, what's the side setback where you have, where you have the mechanical rooms back there? What is the distance between the end of your mechanical rooms to the lot line of, right there?
Be about a,
It's 10.43 feet, 10.4 feet.
10.4?
Is that within our requirement?
You're meeting the side lot requirements in the zone.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, no questions, any more questions this time?
Mark?
I just want to confirm that this building is going in sideways.
Yes,
So the
correct.
side of the house will be facing the street.
The side of the house, correct, will be facing the street.
Can you give me the reason, can you tell me what the hardship is?
Yes, initially we actually proposed that to face the street, but then it becomes the longer side of it faces the street. And in our meetings with town representatives, it became evident that it will be difficult to fit parking on either side.
On a single-family home?
Not on a single, on a duplex.
The question I asked is, I guess, the applicant is indicating hardship in his letter. I'm struggling to see where the hardship was. They bought it knowing that it's an if they had demoed the existing building that had no permits, they couldn't occupy it, no one would provide a permit or occupancy for the building that was illegally built. So whoever bought this risked the fact of buyer beware, and they're just taking a shot and seeing if they can get a duplex. So if we denied the duplex and provided a single family, I'm sure financially that will not hurt them, based on what they probably paid for it and what they have into it, based on what lot values are.
Actually, it will hurt a lot. The reason why, because if you look at what we pay for, and you're probably gonna be losing money actually at that point.
Buyers beware. I think you knew what you bought.
And also the neighborhood, if you look at it, the house on the back and the house on the either side.
I'm well aware of it. I'm well aware of it, but buyer beware. You knew what you were buying. You were taking the risk of coming here to see if you can get this duplex. So that's a risk that any person takes when it's a buyer beware situation. I'm just giving you the indication that you're just jamming in a large building sideways on the property. The planning board's already denied it. You're coming here for relief, and we're struggling with the fact of where your hardship is, because you bought it from somebody else that bought it and flipped it. So you're trying to build a structure as a rental income process and putting a duplex in there sideways. Because there's multifamilies around you, you're thinking that it would be a great fit. However, you're also in a flood zone over here. That's evident because you're trying to build a slab. Plus, you're going to 3 bedrooms on each unit. It's not like you're coming in and requesting only 2. So this board has to weigh all of that information to make educated decisions of what's good for that street, good for the neighbors. There's probably neighbors here that may want to speak, and they'll have that opportunity. But why don't we get through the board's questions first? Bob?
I don't have anything right now.
Tim?
Yeah, I guess my only question was why the 3-bedroom as opposed to a 2-bedroom unit.
Bedrooms.
Any other questions from the board currently right now, before I open it up?
I've got one.
Go ahead.
Are you renting this or selling it?
I personally am the engineer on the project.
Okay, you're renting it or you're selling it?
Our first thought was going to sell it when we bought. The only reason that we bought, because we see around, we noticed it was on a 2-family zone. We see a bunch of other 2-family houses on the street, and then we bought it. We had it on mind to build a 2-family with garages and everything on it. And then when we see the problems with the flood zone and we have to change the house this way, we no longer can have a garage. So we already losing money right there. And before we bought it planning to build a 2-family home with a garage and sell. We are partners. So it would be one house would be mine, one house would be his. We would be selling both houses. But when we realized that we couldn't have a garage, and for his wife being on the realtor business, she told me that we would not be able to sell for the price that we wanted to sell, because there is no longer have a garage, and now there is this flood problem that we didn't even know about it. So if we end up building a single-family home, we will lose money for sure. I know maybe you guys don't care about it, but we will, because basically almost 3 or 4 single-family homes in the whole street that is on the flood zone, and there will be no not be able to put a garage on it. We have to be sideways, otherwise half of the house will be close to the creek passing by. So everything is against us.
I'm familiar with the area.
And if we end up having to build a single-family home, we were gonna probably sell the lot, because it's not gonna be, we're gonna be losing more money. And the sad part of it is, we took the old building down and spent a lot of money on it to take that old building that was not legally built, and we didn't know any of that. Maybe the whole community knew, like, I own my house here in Milford, but it's been only 3 or 4 years that I'm living here. So I didn't know about this property at all. If I knew it was this much problem, I wouldn't buy it either, you know?
I guess the question is,
That's why it's been sitting for so long, because it was a problem.
It's a
Did
problem.
you have legal counsel represent you on this?
Actually, no, sir. That's, like
That
I
was your
said, you know,
problem.
that was my
Problem.
first investment property, and I was just trying to, you know, but my very first one, and it's giving this much trouble, and it's sad, because, you know, I've been trying to buy a property on my town, I already have a house here, and I'm trying to invest my money here, and it looks like I'm gonna have to sell the lot.
Anybody else care to be heard on this? Any butters or neighbors? Yes, sir, go ahead. Please state your name.
Mike Mulkern,
Yes, Mike?
I live across the street,
Okay,
in a single-family house.
okay.
Kind of hoping that they would build a single-family house, because that monstrosity that was there, it was vacant for 10 years.
Right.
Kind of hoping a single-family, but something a lot smaller maybe
Yep.
than what was there.
We don't mind giving up a bedroom. If that's gonna make everybody happy, we might be able to work with the 2 bedrooms, but definitely the single-family homes will be no option for us.
I personally have a problem with it going in sideways.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have a couple of homes that were built years ago, this is why the zoning regulations were changed, because of that, they're an eyesore. And the neighbors generally don't like their houses like this and the other house is sideways.
You get the plan, John?
Yep.
So cosmetically, I'm not comfortable with a sideways house, personally, that's me. So you're talking having to shrink it, 2 bedrooms, shrink everything to make it fit that lot. If you're granted a 2-family.
Yeah, we can definitely try to plan something to see if it would fit those requirements for sure.
Why couldn't the building be turned
You're in
facing
the
the
buffer.
street?
Because
You're in the
one-
buffer.
One reason is the buffer, and the other reason would be that the bylaws forbid placing in this area the parking in front of the building, between the building and the street. So this seemed to be the only way to fit it, to fit comfortably spaces for both sides.
Well, your rear setback is 25 feet.
Where's the buffer? There's a 25-foot buffer, where's the,
Yeah, when you put the driveway in.
You've got the flood zone, too.
I see the flood zone, I see the 25, I don't see the,
you
you're
can
talking about the
see that
100-foot
up.
See the
buffer?
buffer here?
Yeah.
Goes right through the building.
Right through the middle of the house.
Oh, right here, okay, okay, got it.
And I understand your objection on having a building sideways. If you take a look at the architectural drawings, it is not just a flat wall facing the street. It looks pretty good. The side of it looks pretty good too.
I'm
Initially, the idea was to construct the building the other way, to have 2 entrances and to have parking spots in front, but this is not what, yeah, this is not
You have
what
to have
the
a common
bylaw
entrance,
lets you
and
do.
then you got to split from there.
Yeah, so there were a number of factors bringing us to this solution, and if anybody has other suggestions,
So,
we can look at.
as I'm looking at this picture that I'm looking at is directly from the street.
Yeah,
So you're looking at the side of the house.
correct.
That look good to you? That appealing
Well, it has
to an
windows.
abutter? Is that appealing to an abutter?
Let's ask the abutter.
Is that appealing to you, sir?
It's better than it was.
The beginning was better than before, right?
Well, we're not here to
Single
judge what's
family would
better
be
than
better, too.
before.
I understand.
So here's the couple of things I'm struggling with. Clearly, I am not in any favor of any 3-bedroom. That's my personal opinion. board members can certainly voice their opinion. I don't even know if I'm struggling with this, but I also feel, I feel bad for the applicant because he certainly didn't get the right guidance on this site. And there's gotta be, is there a better way to lay this thing out?
I did not find one, and I went through a number of iterations on this. I also went back and forth with the town engineer and the town planner, and this seemed to be the best.
You got 46 feet in the front, correct?
Correct.
You got 46 by 32. No, actually, you got 32 on the front of the
32.
street. And you're 46 feet long into the driveway.
Yeah.
And then you got the bump outs in the back to handle utilities.
I can't see this thing without glasses a hell of a lot stronger than this. But how wide, from the front of the house, from left to right, how wide is it?
32 feet.
32 feet all the way across?
That's what the
That's
plan
from-
is,
32 feet.
That's the street. That's 32
I'm talking
feet.
from here to here,
This is going into the lot, it's 46.
46 feet. So your reduction requirement is there. You'd have to reduce that 46 feet down to fit into the lot this way, somehow, which would obviously bring it right down to two-bedroom. There's no way you'd be able to keep three-bedroom. So did anybody give that any thought? You're the engineer, did you
Meaning if we flip the
flip the
building-
house forward?
Eliminate a bedroom and flip the house.
Flip the house, reduce the 46 to maybe 38, 36, whatever's required to make it work. And bring it down to a two-bedroom on the left and right side. So you had said you had 1,500 square feet on left and right side?
14 and change.
Okay, say 14 and 50.
You get it down to 12.
Get it down to 12, possibly make it work sitting the other way,
Well, we
some new drawings on it and give it a shot.
we still have the issue with, the bylaws require us to have the common entrance. So
Right.
this is eating, I'm not an architect, but this is eating up some space inside.
Right.
So,
Right.
And you're eliminating,
What do you need for
or
a
will
comment?
be,
What do you
would
need for
be
a comment?
asking
Is it
to
6 feet?
eliminate, would be asking to eliminate a bedroom.
How are the bedrooms situated on the plan?
They're on the second floor.
Yeah, but they straight down the hall together?
No,
or-
they're 10 by 14,
That's 140
10 by
square feet.
12, 10 by 14.
120 square feet a unit, that's 240 square feet reduction.
There's no walk-up third floor in this, correct?
No,
Just attic?
side space.
Any other board members have comments or ideas?
I was just wondering, did you ever find the footprint of the original single-family home that was on this lot? Or has that been long?
there were multiple,
1800, 1900.
this site has a long history. There were multiple houses on the same
Okay. All right.
It's an old neighborhood.
I did actually go through some archival footage even, but, no.
We're trying to help these guys here.
No, I understand.
Okay.
The previous
Appreciate
house
it, thank you.
was a huge monstrosity, but the house before that, I do not have
Okay.
the footprint of.
Is there any way, and Mr. Chairman, correct me if I'm out of line here, is there any way if you reduce this, as we just spoke of earlier, cost-wise, would you make out better as a two-family or a much more stylish single-family? Like a four-bedroom?
With the single family,
You're talking 3,000 square feet, that's a good-sized house. It's a single
well,
family.
but the neighborhood won't support the
Won't
price.
support that price.
Yeah,
Well, I understand that, and I'm just asking the questions.
And this is why it's always a buyer beware.
Yeah. I mean, it's got issues, you know,
All right, I want to suggest this. And I probably want the board's opinion. There's no way that looking at this from the street, that the neighbors should be looking at a side of a building, number one. So you have got living rooms in that location. I'd like to see the plan, if it's possible, to be modified. I mean, that's all living room, dining room, kitchen, all on the street, correct?
Yes.
On the plan. So you should be able, from a living room perspective and a dining room perspective, to actually have maybe a couple of nice picture windows with some side windows to actually make it look like it's the front of a house on the first floor.
I don't have a, I know what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
I do.
I feel bad for these people to be looking at a side of a house right across the street, and short of just going to a single-family home, which we probably should do, I think this board is sensitive to the mistake that was made and the investment you're doing. And of course, you know, it becomes financial right now, and you two are young and you're trying to make a start in your lives, and we don't want to sit here and kick someone when they're already down with this. So if we can work through that, I think, I'm hoping that the neighbors would be satisfied, and also it'll work for you. So if that's something that's acceptable,
Okay, we can work with that.
I would like to see that done if you think that,
So you would like an architectural drawing showing entrance-like area?
the front of the building, the front on the street, when you're standing in the street, looking at that first floor, I would like to see at least maybe some picture windows with some small side lights, like it looks like the front of a house.
Yep.
So you've got two nice picture windows with maybe some side windows, just so it's attractive. It's also gonna help you when you sell it, or whenever you decide to go forward, because the appealing part of someone buying something is the curb appeal. And it won't look like something was shoved in there sideways. And then you've gotta get it to 2 bedrooms. It'll eliminate the 2 bedrooms. And maybe with that, you maybe have a better idea of working something that may really look nice. Don't get all caught up about losing a garage, because most duplexes in this community don't have a garage. So that's not a huge loss, especially in a small neighborhood.
We'd like to clean off our cars in New England.
So that's my recommendation. I'll certainly go back to the abutter. I want the abutters happy, and I know what we should do. I think we're all sensitive here to the fact of the investment and the problem that's been on that site for 10 or 12 years. Any other comments?
I agree.
I think it's a good idea.
Sir, is there any other comments from you? Is that palatable?
Just wanted to make sure it wasn't gonna be.
I'd like to see some landscaping besides the 2 trees. I'd like to see the front of the house from the street, which is really the side, having a nice shrub bed with some nice flowering shrubs, so it does look like the front of a house. So I think with the picture windows in the front, you know, from looking from the street, and what I'll do is I'll put those on the plan, and I'll sign the plan that way.
Dated.
But, clearly, you'd like to see 2 bedrooms.
Clean that up so you can't see that from the street.
That's a side, there's nothing we can do with that.
Fence.
That's how it's gonna look. From the side, it's gonna look like that.
Can you use the parking space in the front?
Any other questions concerning it? That work? Okay. All right, you have your last word before we close the hearing. We good? All right, I'll throw some conditions in there, we'll see if we can work with them. If the board members feel that that's good, and then we're good to go. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So, I guess the motion would be that we eliminate
1 bedroom.
1 bedroom from each.
eliminate 1 bedroom, each floor, each unit, sorry, each floor unit, 2 bed max. And then this would be considered the left side elevation. shall have 2 picture windows. Two picture windows on the first floor. Facing the street.
David, are you saying the reduction of the 2 bedrooms, or you were saying reduction 2 bedrooms and square footage?
Reduction, well, it's gonna have to reduce the footage.
Well, you have to put that in there, 'cause if you just say 2 bedrooms, they can make 2 big bedrooms.
We eliminate the existing bedrooms on the plan and the reduction of the square footage to follow.
By how many, I think you have to put in how many square feet.
Yeah, I'll write it in, but it's like 100 square feet each. Also, the left side street, front, full shrub bed. Looking from the street. Jerry's gonna be all over me with this language. But it works. It works. Okay? So we're gonna be so the motion is we're eliminating 1 bedroom on each unit to have 2 bedrooms per unit max. In addition, the square footage would go down based on eliminating those 2 bedrooms, which is, each bedroom would be 10 by 2 3/4 by 11 3/4. So that'll reduce it, okay? And then the left side elevation, which would be looking at it from the street, the applicant will install 2 picture windows so that from the street, it clearly looks like a front of the house, in addition to the 2 trees that are already on the plan.
And landscaping on the side.
Landscaping also on the left side floor plan, which means when you're looking at the street, you're seeing like a front shrub bed against the building. Okay?
And the decrease in square footage, which, like,
Yeah, it's the back 2 bedrooms. So if you need to rework those, that's based, but we gotta eliminate those 2 bedrooms in the square footage. And it may help you, it may actually help out with the design and the roof lines to kind of shorten them up, save some money on framing and costs. So you probably will have to rework that second floor plan. Okay? All right, great. With that, that's the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Charlie. All those in favor? Opposed? That's unanimous.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
One opposed.
One opposed, I'm sorry. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 in favor, 1 opposed. Okay, thank you.
We shouldn't have allowed it.
I know.
I hate to do it to people, but
Yeah, I know.
they're not doing the right thing. They knew what they were about.
Young kids, you know.
Yeah, they knew. Doesn't sit there that long and people not ask questions why. And you know they're gonna sell it to two units.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tim, you want to pass around the, oh, you got it, good, okay. Okay. Sorry, Joe. Okay. On this hearing, Charlie, John, Mark, Bobby, and John. I'll moderate it if that's acceptable to the board.
Acceptable.
Well, I can read either one. Okay. This is on the, application Corner Brook LLC, 11 Commercial Way, Milford, for special permit relief pursuant to section 3.7 of the zoning bylaws in relation to applicant's property at the intersection of Industrial and Birch Street in Milford. Petitioner proposes to undertake cuts, fills, and grading on approximately 6.25 acres of the overall parcel in order to ease slopes and reach uniform grades in an area in the course of which materials will be removed from the site. Let me go to the application. Okay, the applicant states a special permit is sought within harmony with the general purpose of the zoning bylaws. The applicant states that section 3.7 of the bylaw promotes gentle slopes when altering land in its natural state. This parcel is very steep and not well suited to development. These proposed modifications are in keeping with the regulations. Concerning the question asked, the proposed use of the premises will not create undue traffic, congestion, or impair pedestrian safety. The applicant states that the premises are located in the industrial park with convenient highway access. Any land removal from the site will require minimum truck trips per day and will not greatly impact the traffic area patterns. This location has minimal pedestrian traffic. And concerning the question of the proposed use of the premises will not cause harm to the neighborhood or create a nuisance or hazardous affecting the health, safety, and general welfare of the public. The applicant states the site is located in the industrial park. The work being done is in anticipation of future development in keeping with the area. The work will not create a nuisance or negatively affect the general welfare of that property. This did go in front of the planning board. Letter here from Town Planner Larry Duncan. It's lengthy. I'll try and paraphrase it, excuse me. The applicant is requesting a special permit to conduct earth removal activities on the subject property as per section 3.7 of the zoning bylaws. Subsection 3.7.2 specifically requires that the following shall be submitted with the application and shall become conditioned as a special permit. 1, a plan showing existing grades in the removal area and surrounding areas, and proposed finished grades, and proposed covered vegetation and trees. 2, satisfactory performance bond. 3, a written agreement has been executed specifying compliance with all provisions of the bylaw and with additional conditions as the Board of Appeals may require. Since none of the aforementioned items have been submitted, I recommend the application continue the application until the February zoning board meeting to allow sufficient time for the requirements to be met. Then there's a lengthy
It comes right out of our zoning.
earth removal regulations that comes out of the zoning law. I'm sure Mr. Antonellis will go through these.
Prepared to address every one of them.
Okay. So basically, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We can certainly make these available if anybody decides to need them. I'm sure Mr. Antonellis will go through them in detail so that this board is familiar with them, and anybody in the audience that would like to be heard is familiar with them. Permit, written application for permit must be made to the Board of Appeals. The application shall accompany by a plan showing existing grades, performance bond, as we talked about, written agreement, as we talked about, Before granting the permit, the Board of Appeals shall give due consideration to the location of the proposed earth removal, to the general character of the neighborhood surrounding such location, and the general safety of the public on the public ways and the vicinity. Removal operations shall be subject to the following conditions. Removal shall not take place on any grade less than 1 foot above the grade level of any adjacent street or way, or below a level that would reasonably be considered desirable grade for the latter development, and grade specific to the plan accompanying with the permit application. So with that, why don't you give us an indication of what you're trying to do?
All right, for the record, Joseph Antonellis on behalf of the applicant Corner Brook LLC. And just from a historical perspective, I know that this board is aware of the fact that gravel removal in the town of Milford has always been subject to special permits with the Board of Appeals. Notwithstanding the fact that we have a situation in our zoning bylaw that allows one to circumvent the special permit process by filing a site plan for a parcel of property showing the proposed buildings that may be placed there. And then, in that circumstance, you're removing gravel incidental to a building or an approved site plan, and this board is not part of that process. In this particular application, while there was a site plan that was in existence quite some time ago, and which could have been easily refiled with the board showing various pad sites that my client may or may not build in the future. Due to the unique circumstances of my client's position here in town, his ownership of the property, and our sense that we needed to do things and be a little bit more particular about how we went forward, we decided that notwithstanding the fact that the stone could primarily be removed from the property without a permit, and I want to just stop on that for 1 second. As this board again knows, this land is zoned industrially, and due to the unique nature and history of our community, quarrying operations are allowed by right in an industrial zone. And so everything that we intend to do on this property, with the exception of processing material to small stone, could otherwise be done without any involvement of this board or the planning board. So to the extent that my client chose to go up and blow up this huge area that we'll talk about in a minute, to have it cut and take it out in dimensional stone, stones the size of your tables, there would be no regulatory involvement by either the zoning board or the planning board, because dimensional stone is quarrying. So large slabs would be considered quarrying. However, my client is aware that in that process, ordinarily, one runs into the situation where you have a lot of scrap rock, so to speak, that ends up in the crusher. Crusher reduces it to gravel. Gravel is considered earth removal, and therefore we're here tonight seeking a special permit to conduct the whole operation. But again, from a historical perspective, I wanted you to know that we believe that but for that last part of this job, we are not necessarily subject to the jurisdiction of the zoning board or the planning board, because, again, our history is stone in this town, and quarrying is allowed in the industrial zones as a matter of right. Now, the old plan was put up just for the purpose of showing you that someone had considered the site plan aspect of it. And how the plan didn't end up with the application to get to the planning board for their review probably results from my having picked up a file, filing the application, having the plan there, and then picking everything up and it never making it in without my knowing of it. I'll take the heat on that. I know that that's most likely what happened because the planning board didn't get the plan. But I thought what I'd do is I left a plan for the people who were here, for the abutters, and I have a couple of more large ones I can put up on the table. But the one here I'm gonna give to the board at the table here, for you guys to look at, is the same as the colored one that I put on the board. And what I'd like to do is point out the general areas that will be worked on.
You talking to the microphone, Joe?
Yes, okay.
Not that you need it.
That's, no, but I know it picks up over there. So the general area that is going to be worked on is the area that is highlighted in yellow right here, this square area that you see on your plans.
Can you show us Industrial Road on the map?
Okay, I'm sorry. This is Industrial Road, okay, which comes up off of Birch Street.
Okay.
So our frontage is on both roads. You may see there's an area in here that's already been worked on, okay, but Birch Street comes up and then we come up Industrial Road, and my client owns this entire parcel. This parcel is going to be developed in a mixed-use program, most likely with some residential apartments on the back end of it. So the area that we're talking about, and the only area that we're seeking relief to work on, is this area set out in the yellow. The idea is, and again, just to show, because I'm going to go through the zoning bylaw, as I said, I'm going to give you findings on each one of the criteria. But I want you to see that what has been done is a significant amount of engineering, because all of the wetlands, both the isolated, which you see limitations of here, all of the wetlands have been identified on the property, and all of the work can be done without intrusion into the buffer zones. The brown strip that you find here is what we intend to be the service road, the entrance from Industrial Way up into the main area of the property, and the cuts will be done such that we'll be starting in the back and bringing the level down in the front. Now, this plan, and again, I know it's hard to read when you're looking at it from television or anything, but as you can see, and again, this board has familiarity, this plan contains very detailed contours, all set forth what the elevation is. And the plan is to bring the general contour down on this property to about 290 feet above sea level, which is basically about 8 feet higher than the road here. So again, and I'll go through the criteria in the zoning bylaw in a moment, but all of it has been designed to meet those criteria so that our cuts and fills will fit within the situation. Now, we also understand, as we look at the development of this property, that much of the material that we make may very well remain on the site. So when the issue comes up about the bond, and I'm well aware of it, I don't understand how you can come into a zoning board meeting with a bond before you make a presentation on a public hearing, at a public hearing, because I don't think it's what the board would intend would be for Joe Antonellis or his client to walk in and tell you what that bond should be. And so I don't know how you go get a bond without an amount on it. And I don't know from a prefatory standpoint how one would expect that an applicant would come in and know exactly what that bond should be. So, and we'll talk about this as we go forward through the thing. But in my mind, the important thing for the board to know is what is the area of the land that will be subject to the excavation. In this case, I'm going to call it quarrying till the end. And to the extent that we have additional material and we have to make it smaller, which is obviously the crushing aspect of it, which gets us into earth removal, you need to know that it can be done on the property, away from the wetlands. You need to know that if there are any concerns relative to runoff for any abutting properties, that there have been designs placed on the property. You will note that on this particular area here where we're gonna be cut, we have 4 proposed detention ponds that will be built coincidental with the work. Obviously, we've gotta go in and cut and get those ready. We have a wetland area down here to protect. We're well aware of it, but we can get in and through there. Again, we can get our access in off of Industrial Road and do most of our work here away from the residences, which are up here. On this side of the property, you're back into our own area. My client owns other parcels of property along Commercial Way and in Industrial Road, so that basically the impact will be on the future development of this area, which is industrial. And again, the intention down on this part of the property would to be create some pad sites. So from the perspective of the parcel, we identify the entire parcel because it's presently deeded that way. but from the aspect of where we might be removing earth, we're gonna be limited solely to this area, and we will take it down to the elevation at 290.
From a location perspective, and I don't know if anybody in the audience needs to know, is there an office building that's near that building?
Near this spot?
Yeah.
All right, that's not a building there.
Right, that's the ground,
That's the
but is there,
ground,
is there a,
There's an office building, Leo?
all right, so that's,
Right here, right.
so that's the office building?
Right.
Just because I didn't, I'm looking at it, I'm saying, there's gotta be an
I
office
got,
building.
I got a little lost myself. Okay, but again, outlined, the wetlands areas have all been outlined. The limitation of work, again, while we've outlined the whole parcel,
Excuse me,
the limitation of work is, again, down in this area, this low area, well, not low area, but the area at the bottom of the map.
Okay.
And again, I'm aware of what the requirements are relative to the bylaw, and I took some time, I've got 6 of them here, I think.
Excuse me, John, for a second.
hold on. Why don't you,
This is just,
I have one in here.
no, this is new.
Oh, that's new?
This is
Okay.
new, yes.
Thank you.
So what I've done in this regard is I went through the zoning bylaw and the requirements that are for the application. And I've just called it suggested findings. So 3.7.21 talks about what the application has to do. And as I've said, the existing grades are shown, and we've added coloring to the plan, so you as the board have a plan that you can designate exactly what the area is and where the gravel will be processed. The surrounding areas of the property are shown. I have not identified all the trees on the property, but the limits of the work areas are shown, and we've shown where processing operations will be. The applicant intends to engineer the removal of the material so that the finished grade of the entire disturbed area is 290. So that's 290 feet above sea level. All wetlands and sensitive areas, what might or might not be vernal pools, they have not yet been classified, have been properly delineated on the plan, and none of the work that we intend to do is within the protected areas. A performance bond, which is 3.7.2.2, I commented on it. Again, I find it difficult. When I read the application or the process, I said, how do I walk in with a performance bond? Number one, the performance bond, I think, is intended for 2 purposes. One is to make certain that the property is restored so that you don't end up with a wasteland. And second, the other purpose is to make sure that if there is going to be tremendous movement of trucks and equipment over the public ways in Milford, that there is a bond that can satisfy any potential danger or injury. Now, again, that's why I come in. We don't know yet that we're going to take material off the property, okay? I would submit to you that we should not take material off the property without a bond. I have no problem with that. But again, I don't know what that bond should be, and I believe there's a manner that a decision could address the placement of a bond before certain things happen. Additionally, in this particular set of circumstances, and again, I know this board knows the town of Milford, when we take the rock down, we're still gonna be on rock, okay? So the bond that is ordinarily required is required more when you're talking about gravel, loose material removal, because then you're ending up in dirt. But when your finished surface is, again, rock solid, the restoration aspects are not required as they are. You have to put 4 inches of loom down when you leave something, let's call it strip mined, as opposed to this, where we might just simply be bringing down a rock and end up with the exact same thing, that, again, we have exposed solid area. So that, again, is something that I don't know how you determine before the application begins, but rather probably along the way. We're prepared to execute and deliver the statement of compliance with the terms and provisions of the bylaw. Again, the application calls for the imposition of that as part of the special permit. I did not think it was appropriate to walk in with an agreement that I made up myself, and to the best of my knowledge, there is no form of an agreement that is, and to the extent that if there is a form of agreement, then that again can be executed coincidental with the issuance of the special permit or made a condition thereof. The area is primarily industrial. The removal of the ledge is part and parcel of the town's history, and there are major access roads within a half-mile of the site that allows the board to conclude that the permit, when issued, that there's due consideration for the neighboring area. It's possible to leave this site without driving by a residence. One can come out onto Birch Street, take a right to the intersection, take a left down the road that has the abandoned house on it, which is the one-way street out to 109, and then right onto 495. So it's very well situated to keep truck traffic away from the residences. And to the extent that you are on Birch Street, this is obviously a busy road, I'm very well aware of it. And you have your fire station here, and I'm aware of the fact that you have a condominium development up the street, the Stallbrook Road. I know because I permitted it many years ago for WGB Construction. I was involved in the permitting of that, so I'm very well aware of that community. But again, that's up out of the way. We're down over here. We've got this whole piece shielding us from the residences, the fire station, and the other area up there. So again, I think that in this particular situation, we're not talking about it like we would be in a residential subdivision where the trucks are coming out, going onto roads that are primary residential in nature. Rather here, we've got the industrial area. Dealing with removal, we're required to show that the 290-foot grade will not be less than the abutting roadway. In fact, we're above the abutting roadway, so we don't have any concerns about that. The applicant's plan shows that the required slopes can be maintained. Those are required slopes that are technical in the removal of the stone, okay? And they have to do with how, in fact, you're taking it down, that your cuts can't exceed 1 foot per 3 feet. So, again, very well known, all of these are known to us. Anyone going in, doing this kind of work, anyone involved in blasting and stone removal are aware of how these cuts and fills have to be made because they're safety oriented. Okay, the applicant again, we believe that we can demonstrate that we can control the site. Again, you'll see that the brown areas have been added in for detention ponds. Now, the ones that are up at the top of the plan are added more for construction in the future up there, just so we can get a balancing. But the brown areas that are down along the area that we expect to cut are there to take off any water disturbance that comes out. And again, I can state, this is a road that was built originally by my client and services other properties that he has in the area. And obviously, it's incumbent on him to maintain those, that roadway for the purpose of his tenants and other buildings. The relative to restoration, the requirements of 1 foot of vertical rise and 3 foot of horizontal have been considered, and the suggested finished grade of 290 feet that was picked for a reason ensures compliance with that regulation. We note that all boulders larger than 1/2 cubic yard shall be removed or buried. Again, that brings in the aspect of what I've talked about, that the gravel that might be removed, if it's necessary to remove any at all, is going to come from that kind of loose stuff that's left around. The most efficient thing to do with it and the most important thing to do with it at this point is to crush it into good gravel, good base gravel. It's very hard to find these days. I think the board knows how hard it is to get gravel removal permits in general. And again, I look at this is more of a quarrying and blasting situation, but we believe that we can ensure those differences. We'll take care of the boulders. The applicant expects that the site will be characterized by exposed ledge rock, thereby reducing the need for the bond. Again, that gets in, that bond is there to make sure that you don't end up with a dust bowl. And the applicant reserves its right to discuss the necessity of and the amount of any required bond. So, again, while I understand that the planning board believes that there wasn't sufficient information, we believe that the board does have enough information. Again, I believe that this is a situation where conditions would need to be imposed on the special permit, and that, again, I would remind the board, I don't mean to overstate it, but that as long as we're on our property and we're moving gravel around our property, that is not gravel removal. The removal takes place when it's put in a truck and transported from the site where it originates to a site where it wasn't. And that's very simple. So, again, we don't anticipate, while there's a lot of material here, we don't anticipate that a lot of it is gonna leave, because we have a lot of use for it on the site. But again, I felt that it was imperative that I not put my client in a position where someone was questioning whether or not a truck leaving with stone in it was or was not allowed. So we're seeking a special permit for the removal of that. And I'll stop talking for a while.
Okay.
Thank you.
Before I take it to the audience, I'll take it to the board members, and then I'll open it up to the audience, because maybe some board members may have an answer, that someone in the audience may want to question. So, John, I'll start with you, if you have any questions currently.
I have no questions.
John?
Nope.
Charlie?
Yeah, Mr. Antonellis, Attorney Antonellis, when this went to the planning board, obviously, what went to them?
Just the application without the plan. Unbeknownst to me, the plan didn't make it.
All right.
Okay, and then I got a call and said, where's the plan? I said, it's in the application. And it turns out it wasn't, so they didn't have it there, and on their particular night, I wasn't around.
Oh, okay, so
Okay.
that was, yeah, all right.
So it
Now-
just,
Waiting for that plan.
just bad timing on my part in that regard.
Okay, and so what they're saying in their recommendation to us is they want to move this along to their, obviously, their February 2nd meeting, yeah.
Right, so.
But obviously, what is your feeling about that?
Well, I understand that they wanted to review everything, and I respect the board, and I spend a lot of time there, as you know. But I always find it interesting that this is your decision. And, you know, the special permit process was put before you. And while I certainly understand that Mike Dean and Larry Duncan can be very instrumental to this board, perhaps in setting the bond amount, because they have more experience, or in helping draft that agreement that's required, I certainly have no reservations about working with them in that regard. But I don't know that they're gonna do anything other than tell you that you need the very things that I'm telling you I know we need.
All right, so what you're feeling right now is you're giving us sufficient information with proposing certain restrictions that we can put on the special permit, which would meet your needs and the needs of the town of Milford, is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Without going back
Without having to go back.
Okay, all right.
Probably make it just subject to planning board approval. You know what I mean? Mark?
Assume you're crushing on site,
Everything will be done on site.
crushing hydraulic hammer.
There may be some removal of some large stones, because in certain blasts, if the stones are of certain size, there is a need for them in other places. Sort of almost the luck of how it blasts out. But most of the material will be crushed on site.
Bob?
I'm good.
Tim? All right, we'll take it to the audience. All I ask you to do is provide your name and where you live, and supply any questions you may need.
Joe Barry, 16 Silver Street, Milford.
Yes, Joe?
Inside the yellow zones, you said was where you're gonna do all the work. You got two zones that are pictured yellow, well, I think on that map. You got several of them on this map here.
Paul, we can identify them with a heavier line if you'd like.
No, but I mean,
So
you
it
got
is-
several on this,
I'm
this
sorry.
one and this one, the
It is
two?
only this square zone right here,
Okay.
okay? And I can grab another yellow and maybe
Yeah,
make
no,
it,
that's
make
fine.
it darker for the board so that there's no question.
Just trying to get a, idea
Perspective
of where
of it,
this
yeah.
is as far as the, Central Street and, Silver Street.
You know where the office building is, Joe, on Industrial Road, the big one?
I don't know.
And
Right
where,
Amazon
In the
is,
back,
and
right?
where Amazon is,
where Amazon is?
Yes, yes.
it's before it.
Down, yeah, just before that.
Okay, I see.
And,
The parking lot, there's an office building, Amazon, giant distribution facility, it's before that.
No, this does, that's industrial road there, okay.
All right, so how far down Central is this? How far
South
down?
Central.
No, this is industrial here. Birch Industrial, so this is going up
Central's gonna be down?
over here.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
See, I'm telling you, it's hard to orient.
You're trying to figure out where Silver Street is?
Yes.
Okay.
And how, is there gonna be a buffer between the houses?
There isn't any houses.
No houses.
The reason why I'm asking is somebody's doing something behind, my neighbor's house. They surveyed it and they're, starting to,
Is that Dominic?
no, Tony Gonzalez. He couldn't be here tonight, but they're doing somebody's, surveying it and doing something behind his house, which,
What street?
Silver, right off Silver.
Right near the cul-de-sac.
You know where, Tony, what's his last name?
Gonzalez.
Gonzalez lives on Silver Street in Rosa?
Yeah, the ranch?
Yes, the ranch.
Yeah,
It's right behind him.
behind him?
Yeah, they even have people go in there taking things out of the pond, and I do have pictures.
And they, yeah, somebody's surveying something behind it. I don't know if this is the same.
No, this is
This
not
goes
RP.
that-
No.
This goes further
No,
down.
no, we're,
It's all part of that
Not
parcel.
even close.
right, so is somebody doing something up here?
No,
No,
down
it's-
below.
it's,
Down below.
Yeah.
You see that pond right near your hand?
Here?
Right around there,
Okay,
right to the right
so
of that.
that's not us.
Okay.
And again, the area we wanna work in is right here.
All right, the houses, right? Can I ask you a question? How far,
You have to address all questions, Marguerite, through the board.
okay, sorry, Dave.
That's okay.
How close are they gonna come to these houses with the condos on Silver Street?
Oh, what?
How close?
There's no houses.
On Silver Street?
There isn't
nobody-
gonna be some residential in there?
No, this
This is industrial.
this is industrial land.
Yeah, but it butts
So
up
it's
to
not
Silver
all
Street.
part of the whole,
No, I understand that a portion of this property is coming in as a 40B.
yes,
That's up here,
that's up there.
That's
okay?
right where the fire station is.
Right up by the fire, and the access to that property, if in fact it gets approved, is coming in from another parcel on Birch.
So are there any other paths, Joe, going in besides the one you're?
No,
talking
the only pads that we anticipate are here and here.
about? Okay.
Now, will the explosives bother the foundations of the houses on Silver Street?
Well,
Because we're right behind where that building is.
Well, where that is, where Joe's got the yellow mark, and then you see the red stripe below it, then if you keep on going to the bottom of the page, there's a parking lot.
Yeah.
And then you keep on going below, that's an office building, and then you're behind that.
Now, is anybody building behind us, Dave? I mean, that's what we're trying to
No,
find
no,
out.
this is all the part of that parcel.
Yeah.
No.
so
Where's Dominic in relation to this?
he's over here.
He
Yeah,
has,
he's way out.
Here's the map. Here's what we're doing here. There's the locus right here.
Yeah, here's
Yeah,
Silver
he's
Street.
not
Here's
near
Silver
this.
Street.
facility.
Right,
and-
right.
Yeah,
Oh,
so they're right
because-
here, they're
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah, exactly. They're right in here. Here's Silver Street over here. Here's
So
Central
she's
Street.
saying someone's working
You
on
know
it.
all that?
Right.
What's
there.
that,
Okay.
what's that say?
That's
Harry's
what-
Way?
That's what I'm trying to
Arts.
get.
Harry's Way.
Ours way, yeah.
No, I just don't want them building right on top of us. You know what I'm saying?
We're not building anything yet, and we're not building anything up near the residential zone. Because all of the land that we're working with is industrially zoned.
We were on Silver Street, we're the ones who, way in the back on the
Right.
county side.
It's not us.
But that's not you who's surveying behind my neighbor's, right behind my neighbor's
No.
house. No,
And Joe, what street are you on?
Silver.
Okay, yeah, because I'm seeing Silver right here, okay.
Yeah.
Did you see Gary
Is there
and
another
Helen in
lot down there?
trucks there or
Is there a
something?
lot available there, Joe?
You know what, you'd have to get access from the other side because it's about blocked in from Silver. I mean, it's not,
Silver's a county side. And his,
Yeah, comes down here and,
huh?
yeah, we're looking at it right here, the whole
Want me to
map.
come down and show you where the houses are?
Sure. Joe?
Yes.
All right. So, right now, just to give you, here's Birch Street, Here's the industrial road, the locus we're talking about must be right
Right
around
there,
here.
that's correct.
You come up here, there's, over here,
There's an office building here, and Amazon is right here.
right. Here
Here's
you are.
Silver Street.
There's Silver Street right here.
Okay, see, all right, now, we're way down
Yeah,
in here. Will that, I'm just asking, is there gonna be any building be right behind us?
Not from this,
not from this.
not from what we're proposing here. This is all,
So we'll have some,
yeah, I don't know what's
So
happening
where were
up
they
there.
surveying now,
Like
Mark?
1 o'clock from that,
Right there from, right in
Right
here.
here, right
Right
and they
there.
had people going in the pond taking out.
was right against his,
Frogs that could be extinct, and the, you know, I mean, I've seen them.
Just go to the building inspector and ask him what's going on up there. You might know.
That's not us.
Okay.
I think that's what.
All right, let's all go back.
Maybe Piney's fishing or something.
Who's the building inspector, may I ask?
Matt Marcotte. Okay, any other questions concerning its location, or any other questions concerning it, period? I do know, Joe, that the guidelines for this, we've done before with Milford Stone. So, and again, I'm just making a comment because Charlie's really involved here. Those guidelines can be utilized in a decision as well, for hours of operation.
Hours of operation, we understand that, right. I would expect that.
That's the guide that will be utilized.
Right, days of the week, not a problem. And again, as I said, the hard part for me is projecting what a bond would be.
Right.
You know,
But
because-
that's usually done similar to a road,
Right.
and that's the engineer and the planning department that
Right.
usually work
And-
through that.
And I think we could work closely with them in that regard. And again, I think the bond amount differs on whether you're trucking, what you're trucking away and the manner, and how many truck trips are gonna go and again, so I don't know that yet because, and again, the intention is to use, because material's expensive, the intention is to use as much of our own material as possible.
Dave?
Yes.
One more question?
Sure.
Do they have a plot plan how they're building all these, is it condos, is out there?
You're talking about the residential component near the fire station?
No, the one Lavoisier and whatever the other guy's name is.
That's near the fire station. That's been filed with Mass Housing. That hasn't hit us yet, but it's coming.
You know
But
how
this is
many,
all the same parcel of land, right?
Well, it's all the same parcel, but it's up near the fire station. I think it's
No, I
150,
understand.
I think it's 100.
I'm
It's
kinda
close to
going back-
Stallbrook. It's close
Going
to,
back to the question regarding Tony Gonzalez, the back of his property isn't abutted to this property.
I don't know where
The
Tony,
overall property.
is Tony Gonzalez's name on there?
I don't see it.
No,
But he-
there wasn't anything to.
Didn't he receive a letter also, Joe?
I don't see it, and again,
Well, as you know, this isn't close to Silver Street, so.
Right.
no, but how many, do you know how many,
Residential units that are like, that they're applying for near the fire station?
yeah. 'cause
There's
some-
156, something like that. And that's not, that doesn't even come in front of us yet, so that will be coming, I'm sure.
And you'll have plenty of time to review
Oh,
that.
absolutely, you'll see it all.
So if we're not abutters to this, why did we, get?
Well, you're in the butters within so many feet of the industrial zone.
Because we have to go to the perimeter.
You have to go all the way around the perimeter.
We measure, every abutters list is measured from the perimeter of the
And
property.
anything that they need a special permit for, if you're still in a butter, you will be notified.
But who owns the land behind us?
Behind you.
That's the condo association. But as far as the surveying that's been done behind Tony Gonzalez's property, that has to be on this property, because we're the abutters.
Again, I don't know, because I'm not,
Okay.
I don't know what's going on. I have no knowledge of that.
So how would
Well,
we
we don't
find
have
out
any
who's
knowledge of
doing
that.
that?
Huh?
How would we find out who's doing that?
What surveyors have you seen there?
I seen, we saw the flags there, there's been flags put up, the plastic.
Is it Gary and Howland? Is it Andrews Engineering?
What color?
Trucks?
It is, they don't leave.
What color
They
flag?
probably come in
They're
from
pink.
industrial,
They're
so
pink.
we don't see
They're
it,
what?
They were pink.
They were pink.
Pink and blue, I seen.
Probably flag on wetlands.
The blue of the wetlands.
The blue of the wetlands and pink of property lines.
Right. So that's probably the lines.
Yeah, they're coming in from industrial, so we haven't seen who it was, but yeah.
They're coming, how are they coming in from?
It would, gotta be from industrial, because they're not coming in from, sewer.
Well, they may be flagging that entire outline of what they own.
They're flagging property lines.
Yeah, okay.
Probably the property lines are what it is.
So you think those buildings are gonna stay more closer to Birch Street than,
Industrial road.
I mean?
There isn't any buildings planned, is there?
There's, no buildings planned this, but I think you're talking about the apartments. Is
Yeah.
that what you're talking, I don't know exactly where they're gonna be.
Are they supposed to be so many real high ones?
I saw a brief review of the petition, simply online.
But how many
I
floors are they
don't
gonna
know, I think they're
It's not part of
multi-floors.
this meeting.
It's not part of what I'm doing
Oh, I
here,
see,
but,
okay.
you know, just to trying to answer your question, I think they're multi-story.
Your apartment buildings are gonna be up in here. This is where your apartment buildings, there's not gonna be any back here,
Okay, okay.
okay? That's all.
So there was only one set of apartment buildings?
Well, there's a cluster of them, but they're all in this area right here.
Okay,
So,
There's
then-
nothing going back
but
into
you're
here.
not gonna tear the
that's all we
woods,
wanted to know.
then you're not gonna tear the woods in
No.
between that and that, right?
What you see cleared now is what's getting cleared.
And that's it?
That's as far as I'm concerned, that's it.
Are you the boss here?
No.
Because we're good friends with Joe.
Very well could be.
Thank you for the insight, by the way. All right, any other questions?
No, I just,
I
you
think
know,
we're satisfied.
I just get nervous, Dave. I like my privacy, that's
It's
all.
okay, not a problem.
I got a possible proposal for the other board members to consider, that we move ahead and approve the special permit pending two issues. One, a review with the planning board, and also a review with the town planner with respect to when and if and how much a bond would be required on this project. And
fine.
those are the two conditions I
Well,
would.
You're gonna need to have conditions for the operation itself,
Oh,
similar
yeah.
to Milford Quarry.
All right.
You'd use that, you'd probably use that
Yeah.
decision.
All right.
We'll be fine with that. I think that, you know, a condition that the removal of the gravel from the property cannot be done unless the bond issue is to something.
Right, so
Get
then
that.
coming back and
Right.
running it one more time, then we approve the special permit with the following provisions. One, that the plan be reviewed with the planning board, that the bond size, when and how be reviewed with the town planner, and that all on-site work will follow the rules that were previously applied to the quarry operation in Milford. That would be it.
That work? That's a motion, is there a second? Second by Bob,
We're gonna
all those in favor?
down to 290.
Aye.
Those opposed, one abstention? Thank you very much.
Very much.
They're gonna bring this area.
Thank you, sir.
down to 290.
Have a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion.
Motion by Charlie to
So it's
This
basically,
to this.
yes.
This
back in, Charlie?
Our engineer does the bond.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy a great night.
On